Hi everybody, Diana here at Heartfelt Creative. Welcome to Patches and Pieces Monday demo. If you want to see the live portion from earlier that has the announcements and all, you can just go over to my Facebook page, Heartfelt Creative with, that's W and a slash Diana, Heartfelt Creative with Diana, and you can see those there. Oh, excuse me, I have an itchy nose, somebody must be talking about me. Anyway, so today's demo, came to me through inspiration from another designer who I'll share her info with you here in a sec. A lot of you know last week I was laid up because I blew out my knee and my hip exercising. Yeah, doing much better, thank goodness. But Saturday morning I woke up, I couldn't straighten my leg, I couldn't put pressure on it, and I was in a tremendous amount of pain. In fact, I can honestly say I don't remember Saturday really much at this point. But this past week I wasn't allowed to work out, of course, and I wasn't allowed to sew, and I wasn't allowed to do anything but stay down, ice and heat and therapy and all that kind of stuff. And TV was a no-go for me. There was nothing to watch. You can't watch news all day, you'll go crazy. And I started to think about watching an old movie, and I just couldn't get settled into watching a specific old movie, which I love old movies. I couldn't find anything, you know, I love sci-fi, I couldn't find anything there. And it was probably because I was in pain. I didn't want to be down. I wanted to be up doing stuff. And so it was just not good. So I decided for a little inspiration that I'd go on YouTube and look at quilting videos and designers and get some inspiration. So at least my brain was still in my quilting world, right? So there's a designer, her name is Holtz, and I'm sure some of you have heard of her. I've followed Lori's stuff and all for a few years now, and I love her stuff. Everything she does is completely scrappy, which I love. To me, if you want a quilt that you're going to get underneath and snuggle up with the popcorn and the dog and the kids and watch the movie and the whole bit, it's a scrappy quilt. That scrappy quilts say home and togetherness to me. And so that's why I love Lori's stuff, because that's the way it is. And they're beautiful quilts. The designs are beautiful. Her fabrics are lovely. And so her company, her business is Be in My Bonnet. If you like this block, or if you like the idea of scrappy quilts, please go and take a look at Lori's YouTube channel, Be in My Bonnet. You're going to love it. Or it might just be under Lori Holt, now that I think about it. And Lori is Lori, Holt, Holt. Go take a look at her stuff. You're going to love it. She's got some great videos over there. And just watching her room, her sewing studio, is a treat. In fact, it inspired me to kind of redo some of the stuff I've got going on in my room. So had a lot of inspiration from her. So there was one block that she did a video on that really caught my eye, and that's her Criss-Cross star block. Hands down, Dresden blocks are my favorite quilt blocks to do. However, star blocks are probably a close second. I really love them. And I'll show you why this one intrigued me, because it fixes a problem that we can get into with star blocks sometimes. And there was no right or wrong with this block and how I laid out my star point. You're going to love that. So let's get into that now. And I'm also going to show you how you can end up with 8 additional blocks, half square triangles, for each one of these larger star-cross blocks that you do. So let's flip the camera and let's go right to that demo. Okay, so all I know about this fabric is that it's Moda, and they were 10-inch squares from a Moda layer cake. I do not remember any longer who the designer was. I apologize, but on the one that I do for the piecing today for the demo, I'll have that information for you. I just don't on this older fabric, but isn't it lovely? I love the little, look at all those little strawberries. Strawberries always remind me of my grandfather. He used to grow a huge strawberry patch behind their home, and I always loved helping him pick them and eating them. So this is Lori's Criss-Cross star block. Now you might say, well, it looks like some of the other blocks I've seen, Diana. Not really, because let's look closely at our star points here. This is the difference. We're crisscrossed here, right? And doesn't it look like the star is floating on the background? You're never gonna, this fixes a problem that we're never gonna have with this block, and I love it. Normally, when we as quilters do our star blocks, we know that we should probably have a good 1/4 inch here so that when we sew our seam, we don't lose our points. But you and I both know as quilters that sometimes we end up snagging the ends of our points, which is fine. It still looks beautiful and lovely, but we all wish that there would have ended up at least like this, where we don't cut them off. Lori's block fixes that, because look, when I place my ruler at the 1/4 inch line, that's my seam. My points aren't anywhere near that seam. So I'm never going to lose my star points with this block. Isn't that great? Now I will tell you, Lori, because she does all of hers scrappy, every one of her star points was a different fabric, so you could do that. Her center was a different fabric. You could do that. I think all of her background squares were the same though. So you can certainly do that. I've chosen to do from a curated collection. Now for this one, I chose 4 patterns of fabric from the collection, and I made 2 squares in each pattern to make, so I'd have 2 star points out of each fabric. And then I chose the same fabric for my center as for my background. You can do that as well. In the sample that I'm going to do for you today in the demo, I've only used 3 fabrics. My star points are 2 and everything else is the 3rd fabric. So you'll see that. So that's the one thing I love about Lori's patterns. Her work is done in scrappy, which is her method, the way she loves to sew. That's what seems to inspire her, and her work is beautiful. But scrappy might not be your thing. Using curated collections, especially, I know folks who say, I have a hard time matching colors up. Well, I've done a whole class on color that has nothing to do with the color wheel and color theory, because my idea on color is put together whatever you like. But there are some things you can do. Anyway, that's another subject. But if you're someone like that, you might like using collections because all the colors are made to go together. That's totally cool too. So you could do whatever you wanted. Here, I have 4 different fabrics for the star points. In the one I'm about to do, I'm only going to have 2. So when you make this square, the way I'm going to show you, you're going to end up with 8 3.5 inch half square triangles in the end. So you're not going to lose any fabric. You're not going to have any waste. Now, Lori Holt would tell you that's not waste anyway, because when she makes her cuts and she gets sets like this of these triangles, she puts these in her scrappy piles and uses them for other things. And I think she cuts 1.5 inch squares out of these, which is a great idea. So she doesn't get waste either. But a lot of folks don't necessarily instantly think, oh, I could cut something out of this, or oh, I could make something. So you could do as Lori does and cut a smaller square out of here and put it in your square bin, or you could do what I'm going to show you today and make yourself some 3.5 inch half square triangles. So you could use these to line or, border this block. You could use these just to make completely bonus blocks. So you could make blocks that look like this. There we go. Kind of a square and a square look. Now, all of these, you notice, are your typical half square triangles, except for this one right here. This is the second, when you lay your second star point down on each block, you're going to end up with a half square triangle that has the 3 fabrics in it. And I love that. That almost makes it look like it's a crazy quilt kind of a half square triangle. So you can do anything you want with these. What I do with them, and I do this technique when I do anything that is snowballed corner or a flippy corner, anything like that, I will make the extra half square triangles. I save these and I make these into big, huge, scrappy quilts, which I love. That's just kind of the thing I love to do. Or you could make these into separate blocks, or you could add them into other quilts, whatever you want. But you get 8 of these for every one crisscross star that you make. You get 8 half square triangles. So that's your bonus on this, and no waste on your fabric. So I hope you like that idea. So let me put this sample aside and let's bring over the square with my fabrics for today. So I'll tell you about these fabrics. This fabric is Moda, and it is from, if you know them like I know them and love them like I love them, you know Bonnie and Camille. I love their fabrics. And this collection is Sunday Stroll. Sunday Stroll, at least this fabric. I don't know if the whole collection is Sunday Stroll or if it's this fabric that's Sunday Stroll, but all of this is from the same collection. I'm reading it directly off of my salvage. And I love it. There are other fabrics in this collection too, but I chose these. So these 2 are going to be my star points. So I'm only using 2 fabrics on this one for star points. This is going to be my center square and my background squares. And so this lovely aqua with this little white dot, I just adore that. I have to order some yardage on that if I can find it. And then I love how they've done the navies with the red, of course, is a great, but I love this navy and this light aqua in here too. I just think it's gorgeous. So let's talk about what you need to make one square. You're going to need, if you're going to make your center square and all your background squares match, you're going to need 9 5.5-inch squares, 4 4.5-inch squares of fabric A, and 4 4.5-inch squares of fabric B. Now here is the cool thing about how Lori has made this. Whatever this square is in size, 5.5, 4.5, 3.5, 8.5, whatever it is, minus 1 inch is the size that you make your star points. 5.5, 4.5, 6.5, 5.5, 3.5, 2.5. Get the idea? You just take whatever this is, so a whole number plus a half for your seam. So 5 plus a half is 5.5. Then minus 1 inch, 4.5. 4.5, 3.5. 2.5, 1.5. That would be a really cute little block, wouldn't it? That would be lovely. So this size, 5 and 4.5 give you a 15-inch square when you're done. Okay. So it'll be 15.5, but once it's sewn into something, it'll be 15 inches finished. All right. So 8 of these and plus 1, so 9. If you're going to have your center square be the same, 4 and 4. Like I said, when I was telling you about how Lori did her scrappy, each one of these star points was a different fabric. So she had 8 different 4.5-inch squares on hers. Plus she had a different square here. So if you do it where you have a center square that is different, you'll have 8 of these plus 1 5.5-inch in a different color. And then your 4.5s of your blocks for your points. All right. Okay, let's get into this. We're going to take, first of all, we're going to take all of our star points and draw a diagonal line from point to point on every single one of them. Now, I already have the first 3 completed, but every single one of your star points, draw a line. The one thing I found in making this was it was very important that my diagonal line be a really straight diagonal line when it was sewn. And when I did that, I basically had no squaring up to do. But on the one where I was off here, I had to square up here. So tip from me to you, try to use that diagonal line. Now, if you have a laser on your machine so you can do an accurate diagonal line, perfect. I know Lori Holt has a system that she has created that she uses. You can check that out on her video. And there are others. There's tapes that you can put on your machine that'll help you as well. I've tried a few of them. I haven't tried Lori's, to be honest, but I've tried some tapes and different things. And because the machine I'm on today doesn't have a laser, I just like that nice diagonal line. I know where I'm going. I don't have to worry about it. I used a heat erasable pen there. So what you're going to need is to match up one of your background blocks, 5.5s, and one of each of your star point blocks. Okay, I'm going to flip the camera over to the sewing machine, and we're going to put these together. Now I'm going to grab that. Okay, so here we are. Now, the nice thing about this is it does not matter what order you lay your star points down. You don't have to do them the same way every time. They can be this one go first, and then the next one, that one goes first, or they always go this one first, that one second. It doesn't matter. However you lay your points out, your star is going to turn out to be lovely, no matter the direction or anything like that. So I'm going to take this star point block, square, and I am going to lay it face down, so right sides together, pretty sides together, however you say that. Basically, it's in the upper right corner of our base block. Here's my diagonal. We're going to come right over here to the machine. Have everything lined up good there. Putting on my magnifiers so I can see everything really well. There, we're going to have everything lined up nicely. Come right over here and stitch. And this block really lends itself to chain piecing if you like to do that, because you can do all of them in this way and then go back and add on your second star points, sorry. All right, so we're done there. So now, after you've done all of your blocks to this point, before you cut them and add your second star point, you need to do one more little marking to help you get that half square triangle spare block. So here, right here is our sewn line. I hope that sun isn't making it too bad. Let me lift that up a little bit. So right there is our sewn line. And we're going to take and place our 1/2 inch mark on our ruler right on that sewn line. And yes, I said 1/2 inch, not 1/4 inch, okay? So 1/2 inch, and we're going to mark. And I'm a lefty, so I know this is being blocked. Let me see if I can drag my pen down with my right hand so you can see it. There we go. And you're just going to make that mark. And you're going to do that on all of your blocks that are sewn to this point. We're going to come back over to our sewing machine, line up on that line, and sew all of them down that line. Trim off my squares. Now I'm going to come over to the cutting table again. There we go. Here we go. Okay, so here is, let's bring our camera down a little. So here is our block, and what we have here, this is our original stitched line. This is our secondary stitched line. So we're going to take our ruler. We're going to take our 1/4 inch now, our 1/4 inch line on our ruler, and place it on this outer stitched line, okay? The outer stitched line. Or if you're right-handed, you can place it on the original stitch line on either side. You just want to place your 1/4 inch mark on one of your sewn lines. I'm doing it on the outer one because I'm a lefty. Okay, so take that, take my rotary cutter, cut that off, and look what I have right there. A nice little 1/2 square triangle. All I have to do is flip and press, and then in the end, when you get all of them done and you flip them and press them, I use my little Omni Grip 3.5 inch square template, and I square up all the little blocks to 3.5 inches because they're a little bit more than that now. Let me just press this real quick with my fingers. So when I trim these up, I take my angled line there on the diagonal. I lay that right on there. And then if you have a turning mat, perfect time to use it. And then I just trim up all the way around. You just have a little bit of trimming to do, and you end up with 8 beautiful half square triangles. And I'll show you that exactly how I do that and actually demonstrate it here at the end. But let's finish our block. So here we are. We have our block cut now. So we need to bring in our pressing mat or go to your sewing station, however you do that. Now, I know normally I show you the precision piecing pen, which fabric conditions your seam. You flip it and it presses really flat. I've shown you that many, many times. But the other thing I wanted to use, which some of you may have, especially if you do any kind of apparel sewing, is a wooden clapper. What is a wooden clapper, you say? Well, you're going to see here in just a second. So I don't do any conditioning on my seam except to set my seam with my iron there. Then I'm going to fold this over, bring in my iron and press. And I'm going to set that clapper right on there. And what the wooden sewing clapper does is this wood absorbs the heat and puts a little bit of weight on your seam. So your seam cools and sets really quickly. Unlike if you just flip it and press it, your seam stays warm and can be misaligned that way. So I just set it there. I don't know, I can set there. I can just set my hands there. I'm not pressing, I'm just setting them there. Lift it up and I have a nice flat seam. And some of you may have clappers at home. Now I've had this clapper for a good while. They look the same forever. But if you don't want, these are hardwood and they can be a little bit pricey. I think this was like $30 or something. But also, I just went to the hardware store and got a block that felt good and heavy in my hand. Like it feels about, actually this is a little heavier than this one is. That was already cut in their waste bin, and I brought it home because it's clean. I made sure it was clean on my sides, and I can use it for a clapper as well. And I think this cost me $1. You know, so $1, $30, they do the same thing. But you can order these online. They're, if you go to Amazon, and Taylor's Clapper. Is that what this one's called? Actually, a Taylor's Clapper. But that's what they are. This one, I mean, this one's beautifully made. It's hardwood, it's oak. So, but that'll give you a nice flat seam. So if you're somebody who doesn't like to use any kind of liquids on your fabrics, I get that. Some people don't, that's fine. Then your Taylor's Clapper will help you get a really nice seam there. Okay, so we've got our first star point on, easy peasy. Now let's go over back to our machine. And here's our second star point. So I'm going to lay this so that my star point is in the bottom corner, but you don't have to be so specific. I mean, if it's here, if it's in the upper and you lay this in the lower, it's going to turn out the same way. This is just my coordination. So I'm going to take this and lay it right back up in that upper right-hand corner. Get everything nice and lined up. Bring it over here to the machine. If you use leaders and stuff, you might find that you need it for this. I don't use them, but they can be helpful. My machine doesn't tend to pull into the dog feet, or I don't know why. I've never used those. I've been sewing for 55 years. I've never used those, but some people use them, and that's perfectly fine. They're just a little piece of fabric that you start off with before you get to a point. They can be very helpful, especially if your machine tends to pull your fabric into your feed dogs. All right, so I'm done here. Now I just have to take and mark this one just like I did before. I'm going to lay my ruler 1/2 inch line right on that sewn line. Bring over my friction pen and trying to do that so you all can see it, and make my line there. And then bring this back over to my machine and sew down this new line. Okay. And you would do that to all 4 of your star point blocks. So again, you could do some assembly line type sewing there. All right, so now let's come back over to our main table. Let's flip the camera one more time. There we go. All right, so here we go again. I'm going to place my 1/4 inch line on my ruler right on that new sewn line. Get it all nice and lined up. Take my rotary cutter, cut. Now, oops. There we go. Now from all 4 of my blocks, I have 8 new half square triangles, and I'll show you how I trim them up here in just a little bit. And now all I'm going to do is press again. I'll get my clapper again. So I'm going to take and flip my piece over. See, getting it right on those lines with your diagonal, really no trimming up to do on this. Set that there, let it absorb the heat for a few seconds. And you don't have to leave it there forever, just a few seconds. Or if you have to walk away or something, it doesn't hurt if it sits there. But now I have a nice flat seam. Okay, move my mat back over. Okay, so now I have 4 star point blocks. And I have 5 of my background blocks left. So now we can lay out our big block. So we know we want background in our upper 2 squares. Let's see, move this back up again so you can kind of see a bit better. There we go. So our upper 2 squares, I know I want a star point block in the center. I know that I want a background block as my center block. And I want a star point block on each side of it. Oh my gosh, am I loving this with this fabric. Yes, I love it. And then I want my last 2 background squares in my bottom corners. And there we go. I love how that turned out. Now in this version, because of the way I laid out my star points, my flowered star point is on top, right? It's the larger one on each one. But if I had made this where some of them had the red on top and some of them had the dark on top and they were mixed matched, it doesn't matter. Your star still turns out looking beautiful. It doesn't matter which fabric is on top and the bottom. So that is our star point. Now, all I do for this, there we go, that's better. Doesn't look like you're having to tilt your head now. All you do on here is sew your outer 2 to your inner on each row, and then fold your upper row over onto here and sew, and your bottom row over onto here and sew, and press, and presto change-o, you end up with a lovely crisscross star block. Okay, so that is a little bit, that's Lori Holt's block done with the heartfelt creative twist of doing it in more curated color collections for those of you who like that. But like I said, if you're like Lori, you can do them all scrappy. What I like about this as well is, if you all know what the friendship star looks like, with these two star points, you can definitely see a friendship star made from these four, and then a friendship star made from these four. So it looks like the stars, the friends are crisscrossed like that too. That's how I see it, right? Because I'm goofy that way. So that is your crisscross star block. I'm gonna pile these up. I will sew mine together in a little bit. But I also wanted to show you how to trim. You trim this the same way, whether you're doing the little half square triangle that has the 3 fabrics or the 2 fabrics. So I'm going to do this one just to show you. Let me bring my iron back over. Now I will say that when I do smaller half square triangles like this, I do absolutely always use my precision piecing pen. It's just a liquid that conditions your seam. And I flip and press. Now you could, if you wanted to absorb some of the heat from the press, put your clapper on there too. I don't tend to use my clapper and the conditioning, but you could. So there, I have 1 half square triangle pressed and ready. Now all I need to do is trim it up because it's not quite a perfect little 3.5 inch square yet. So like I said, I have an Omni Grip 3.5 inch square ruler. I just lay my diagonal line here on the diagonal line of my half square triangle, and it would be the same for the block that has all 3 fabrics in it as well. You still have that same diagonal line. Okay, so put that there and put that there, put that all lined up, 3.5 inches. Now all I'm going to do is safely cut around and trim. I'm just trimming ever so little off. I mean, on this one side here, this last side, I'm literally trimming off threads practically, right? So that's, whoops, need a new blade. I bought a new blade for my trimmer and forgot to put it on. But there we have it perfectly squared up 3.5 inch half square triangle, and I just put that on my stack with my others, and I'll get 8 of these. These are all my half square triangle bonus blocks from the block I just showed you. So easy peasy. Let me flip my camera one more time. Oops, one more time. I'm hoping the new streaming stuff I'm using will help me flip back and forth between cameras instead of having to rotate. Anyway, that is the Criss-Cross star block. The original block is by Lori Holt. I've just heartfelt creatized it with doing the curated and showing you how to do these bonus half square triangles. And whenever you do a snowball square or anything, a flippy corner like this, you can do this technique and make yourself some extra little half square triangles to play with too, right? All right, folks, I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Again, go see Lori Holt's YouTube channel for all of her videos because you'll love them. And she shows you, like I said, just watching her studio space, her room, is a joy to behold. It's like just a lovely few minutes for a sewer just to sit and dream about what they want their room to be. So thanks, Lori. If you ever see this, I doubt she ever will, but if she ever does, thanks, Lori, for doing this block. And I love it. And I actually have already planned out a quilt where I'm going to use it. So I hope you enjoyed. See you again next Monday for Patches and Pieces Monday. Bye, everybody. Have a great week.